experiment results a couple of weeks ago that looked at only call record metadata and was able to infer personality types by who you call, how often you call, how long you stay on the phone. That kind of data was enough to, with pretty good accuracy, determine personality. And not only is metadata so valuable, because it's so much smaller, it is easier to store, to search, to analyze. I mean, you run the math, and you can't collect all of the telephone conversations that happen in the United States. But you can easily collect all the metadata. You can easily work with it all. And the NSA has very sophisticated analysis tools. And that's something that's not reported very much. A lot of the news reports talk about the collection and not a lot about the analysis. Some of that's the documentation. That there's much more documentation about collection. And it's easier to understand. The analysis is more opaque and often harder to figure out really what's going on. But we saw, the one story we saw a lot of analysis information was the Washington Post story on cell phone location data. And there we saw several things that the NSA does. That the NSA will look for people who, they have someone they're interested in, and they look for people who are geographically near them more often than should be, than average. And so if I was interested in, you would all be registered as being in the same room as I am. And if maybe that happens now, it happens in 3 weeks, it happens when I go back to Boston, and suddenly you're of interest too, even though we've never communicated electronically. Another example is my favorite one. They have a program where they look for pairs of cell phones moving towards each other, that turn themselves off, and then turn themselves on again an hour later, moving away from each other. Which if you think about it is the characteristic of a secret meeting. It's kind of neat. So a lot of the harm is not about one particular data stream, it's about collecting them together. So it's not Verizon metadata, it's Verizon metadata plus, email contact list collection plus various data mining techniques and a public phone directory. Or it's about drones plus face recognition plus Facebook's tagged photo database plus NSA location tracking. Then when you start putting these different streams of surveillance together, there's some very interesting things you can do, and it's not discussed a lot. Very important, this is not just about the NSA. I mean, these stories are about the NSA because that's where our documents are about, but really, this is what any well-funded nation-state adversary will do. The US has a very privileged position on the internet, both from a networking perspective and from the fact that most of the big companies are American. But these techniques are not US only. We know that China uses quantum, which is the NSA's basic weaponization of the internet in the Great Firewall of China. X-Keyscore, which is a large NSA analysis tool for the internet. If you want to have your own, the public domain product is called Bro. It's a security analyzer. You can stuff a whole lot of memory on the back end. You can make your own X-Keyscore. Right, so the hacker tool that's quantum is called AirPawn. Fox Assassin is basically Metasploit with a good budget. And I just saw 2 weeks ago someone is selling a grain of rice-sized computer if you want to make your own Tau exploit and own someone else's machine. Right? And I'm often asked, well, what is the most surprising thing you've learned about the NSA? And this is kind of it, that the NSA is not made of magic. That fundamentally the things they're doing are just the things we're doing with a bigger budget. And they're not fundamentally different. That's actually interesting. And surprising and I think heartening. All right, so these techniques are general. Russia, Syria, Iran uses these whenever they can. They're not unique to the NSA. And technology spreads. And today's secret NSA programs are tomorrow's PhD theses are the next day's hacker tools. And a lot of these techniques are used by criminals. Right, one of the NSA's cool things is they have a lot of technology to jump air gaps. We're seeing more and more papers on how to do that in the academic world. Right? Nothing new. Right? And this speaks to fundamentally the harm. What we've done here is we've built an internet that is insecure for everyone. right? We have enabled this mass surveillance by anyone with enough skill and budget. I mean, in the US, the NSA surveillance system breaks basically all of our institutional systems, right? It breaks our political systems, because Congress just can't provide oversight, and you know, they're kept in the dark, they're deceived. It breaks our legal systems. And we're living in a country where secret courts make secret rulings on secret laws. That should be surprising to us. It breaks our commercial systems. That is, US companies are forced to subvert their products and lie about it. And it breaks our technical systems. The very protocols we trust might also be subverted.